All right, looks like we're live. So before we get started, I'd like you to drop what trade you're in the chat and how you currently pay your team. Do you pay them hourly, commissions, bonus, combination of everything? Just let me know what you're doing now. And I just kind of want to get a feel for what's going on and where everyone's at today. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about performance pay. And you know, most contractors want their technicians to think like owners. God knows when I was a contractor, I wish that that's what they did. And most companies pay their team, and it usually works against this, the way they do it. So the company wins when jobs are done efficiently, and technicians win when they get hours if you are paying hours only, right? And so this creates a big gap between what the owner wants and what the technicians want and what actually happens. So we're going to talk to my buddy Ron Williams from Benjamin Franklin Plumbing and 1 Hour. It's got 2 franchises there in Ocean City, Maryland. We're going to talk about performance pay. We also have Ryan Shank with ShareWillow. So guys, thanks for joining.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you so much, Bill. And yes, before we get started, so it looks like there's a private chat and then there's the comments. So just to be clear, we should all be in the comments section on the right side, right? So comments is sort of the public chat there. So we see, you know, we have Chris with generators and electrical trades, straight hourly, looking at ways to add incentives and bonus pay, garage door. By the way, I noticed that we had a lot of people registered here today. And so anyway, yeah. And by the way, I'm super grateful that Ron was able to show up and be here with us. I'm excited to just learn from you. And I think a lot of people in the trades and, you know, a lot of people are hearing about incentive pay and performance pay. So I think they want to hear like the good, bad, the ugly. How did you message it to your team? I think that's always a concern. You know, are you seeing your metrics improve after, you know, switching? So I think we're going to talk about all of that today. And by the way, I do want to say at the end, we do have a special offer since Bill is so gracious to let us do this. So I wanted to like just give back there. So that's going to come at the end. But yeah, super excited to dive in.
Yeah. Ron, how's it going today?
Glad to be here, guys. Thanks for the invite. And always glad to be able to help my fellow tradesmen. So I'm here however I can. And Ryan, thank you, because, you know, I've been beating my head against the table for a long time now, trying to figure out what the heck to do, from commission to performance to new comp to whatever it is. And you guys have definitely made it a lot easier for us.
Great. That's fantastic. Ron, can you tell me a little bit about your business, your team size, how long you've been in the industry? And I know you do plumbing and heating and air conditioning as well.
Yeah, so I've been doing this since as a franchise since 2002, bought and sold a couple businesses. And then my current companies are down here in Ocean City, Maryland. We're projected to do about $5 million collectively. 3 on the 1 Hour side and right around 2 million on the Ben Franklin side. Smaller size, but you know, still has its everyday ups and downs. And what we've noticed for the most part is when we went over to the performance-based pay, incentive-based pay, and right now it's on the plumbing side. We've been doing it for about 2 months, taking a little longer to implement, but fine-tuning it. My plumbers are, their average ticket is anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 now. We had what we thought was a good average ticket of around $800-900 to $1,000. It's $1,500, $2,000, and they're spending more time on the job, and you know, really educating the customer so that they can, you know, maximize everything for the customer, obviously, but then also for their own paycheck.
I'm just going to jump in. That's incredible. So just to be clear, previous average ticket was $800 to $900, and now average ticket is $1,500 to $2,000.
Wow. And it determines the plumber, right? We've got some guys that are still building on it and trying to, you know, get that options closed down and taking their time with the customer. And then we've got some guys who are really good at sales and, were just craving for this, and they couldn't wait till some sort of incentive-based pay came around. And really, we have a new plumber that came on board with us solely because it was an incentive-based program that he wasn't getting from his former company.
Really? That is so cool to hear.
Yep.
I keep hearing that, I think A players want to be in a system that allows them to thrive, right? I don't want a ceiling, right? Like I want to be able to win and to do my best and to receive the upside from that. I'm curious, you talk about spending more time. I think a lot of people should talk more about that, because I don't know if you've read the book Unreasonable Hospitality, where it's like you want the customers to feel a certain way and to like have these magical moments. What are they doing when they're spending the time? Are they truly doing like a deeper diagnosis, whereas before maybe they were rushing and doing some like, hey, here's the cheapest we could do it? Like talk to me more about like what happens with the customers, with your end customers. Yeah.
So to back it up just a minute, one of my goals was to always take care of the customer to the best of our ability. And on hourly, it's difficult to do that because a lot of times you're just going to see the problem, fix it because that's what they're there for, and then move on. And then the other goal with this was to never have anybody ask me for a raise ever again. And I believe those two things were accomplished. First and foremost, with now that it's incentive-based, they are taking their time. They're doing a walkthrough. They're getting in the crawl spaces, because what we have mostly down here, and they're going over everything with the customer instead of just looking for that one little Band-Aid fix. And that's always been a problem on the hourly, because they're getting paid by the hour. What's the incentive? Yeah, they're good people. They're good guys, but they're going to take care of that one little problem, maybe a little add-on here and there, where they're looking at everything all the time because their pay is based off of that.
And they didn't all of a sudden learn how to do that, to be very detailed and communicate really well overnight. They always knew how to do it. There just wasn't incentives there. And people respond to incentives, specifically financial ones, right? An incentive is not, you're not going to lose your job if you do good. The incentive is money, especially today. And the way that we operate as owners, we are incentivized to do a great job, be efficient. We're the ultimate performance pay, right? So how can we motivate our technicians with a different structure than that? So this just makes sense. And it's something that's been done forever, right? I mean, how long have contractors been doing and talking about performance pay? Goes all the way back to what, maybe the 2000s, Ron? Early 2000s? Yeah.
I think they talked about it for a long time now. And, a lot of different variables came out. And we talked about this before. It's when it's too difficult and the guys can't understand it, they don't feel the buy-in and they don't have the belief that it's really there. When they look at their app on a daily basis and they can see, okay, I had this killer day. And tomorrow, if I had that same killer day, it's going to continue to ramp up my pay for the end of the week. Mm-hmm. And it's simple for them. That's the driving force.
Can I dive into that? So there's a bunch of people here who, and if you look at the chat, by the way, I think a lot of people want to move to this, but maybe they don't know how. They don't know how to message it. I think like, and you even said, you didn't know how to do it before. So you talk about simplicity, what was the unlock for you where you're like, okay, I can digest this. Like this makes sense to me. I feel confident rolling this out. And how are you able to do that? Cause like you haven't been doing, incentive pay for, your whole, for the whole time. So like, how are you able to really like roll it out and make it so that you feel comfortable that they're going to understand it?
Well, I think first and foremost, they have a fallback, right? They have an hourly that they fall back on in case somebody has a bad week. They have that fallback. They also have been trained we always want to be able to take care of the customer. So then we created, okay, what's a good percentage? What's a percentage that the company can live with and that the guys can be excited about? And then once we came up with that percentage, we worked with Danielle from your office, and we built that plan and we tailored it to fit our company. And once we did that, we rolled it out. The guys understood it and it made it simple for them. I'm a simple guy. I don't like complicated stuff. If it doesn't work for me, it's not going to work for my plumbers and HVAC guys as well. So it had to be fairly simple. And that's what ShareWillow for me has done so far.
And talk to us about your plan. You know, I think some people hear incentive pay. They're like, oh, you got a nickel for this and this and this. Like, you know, talk to me about like what your plan looks like. You don't have to go into specific actual percentages, but like, what are you incentivizing on?
Right now on our plumbers, we're incentivizing what they get a full percentage of anything they sell. So if their dollar amount equals X and they sell above that on their percentage, they get that percentage instead of their dollar amount. And we're shooting for an 18% labor rate. And so they get a percentage of that completely.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's totally. That's a great labor rate, you know, and again, for everyone like here, you know, the way that we think about this is you want to really reverse engineer it, you know, like what are you comfortable paying in terms of like a labor rate? Most people are hovering around that 20%, but look, I'm talking to people that it's ballooned to 30%. And they're like, and they're big companies. So they're like, every percentage I can get that down for these bigger companies. They're like, that's like $100,000 in profit for every like, or something, whatever the numbers are, but like it's material money. So
Ryan, were you saying that they pay the 30% or with hourly, it ends up running into the 30% actual costs, right?
With everything, like it's balloon.
Yeah.
So they're like, they'll come to us because they're currently paying 30% with hourly. So they're like, this has to change. You know, guys are taking, the guys are taking two times as long, right? There's going back to 30% of their jobs are getting callbacks, right? Just kind of like things like that are like just eating away. I talked to this one owner and then I'll stop telling stories. But I talked to this one owner and he was like, when I do the jobs, it's a 57% margin. When I give it to my guys, it like sometimes is unprofitable. And he's like, you know, it's like the gap is crazy. So it's like, how do we fill the gap and make it so the techs are acting like owners, you know, on those jobs?
I'll give you, for instance, let me add on to that, Ryan.
Yeah.
Perfect example is my plumbers would ask for another plumber to give them a hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's going to drive my labor rate up because now I'm not out there running other calls with them. Now, if they ask for another plumber, they're going to have to share their compensation on the back end, on the completed side. So you know what they're doing now? We have one apprentice. They're asking for the apprentice or they're doing it themselves. So that's going to help drop my labor rate.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Talk to me a little bit about like, do these guys kind of like look at what each other are having? Are they chirping each other? Is there a competitive spirit here? Like talk to me about like the dynamics of it. Cause I think a lot of this is like psychology a little bit, right?
I didn't realize behind the scenes how much they were talking about it. They are now constantly talking about, you know, where are you at? What did you get? How are you making out? What's your numbers? And even for themselves, they're truly watching their numbers day in and day out more than I ever could we were paying spiffs. We were paying spiffs for water treatment. We were paying spiffs for all kinds of products. This changes everything because now they know, and the culture is they can make as much as they want. Unlimited.
Yeah.
Just take care of the customer and make sales.
And for the tech that came to you because you had it, like, were you advertising? Like, I'm curious because I have seen it in some job posting. Like, were you saying that when you're interviewing, or like, how did he even know that you guys had it? Did he use friend talk?
This tech, the plumber that came on board was a referral from our biggest sales plumber in the office. We just hired an installer for the HVAC side from a friend of my service guys. And he came on board as well. He starts in 2 weeks, specifically for an incentive-based pay on the install side. So we're going to give him a commission on that. So he's like, I don't get that at my other company. And his other company was a much bigger company. So he's like, I can make more money over here on the incentive-based. So that's the next step for us to unveil it to the HVAC side. It's two people.
You guys do it differently on the for installers? How is that calculated?
Yeah, so we're going to take a percentage of, again, getting back to 6-7% of the sale should be going to labor. So I'm going to give the lead mechanic a bigger spiff or bigger percentage, and the second mechanic gets a little bit of a smaller percentage. It keeps my labor in check. If they go a little longer on that job, they make a little bit less per hour than they would have if they got it done in 6, 7, or 8 hours. Keeps my labor in check.
Yep.
How do you handle callbacks or recalls on those jobs?
That, completely honest with you, I don't have that plan yet.
Yeah.
We're still in the process of building that. Ryan should have a plan for me to
Yeah. So
fix that.
what most people,
The plumbers go back on their own stuff now. So if they have a callback, they're going back on their own, and they all want to go back on their own because they don't want to go on somebody else's, because that's money out of their pocket.
yeah, usually it's a deduction is how we structure it and how we've seen it, is that like they get dinged for it. And usually it's like 50 or $100. And that's like the typical way. So you'll get a deduction for any callbacks. You could sometimes have like a callback threshold, like anything over 2 or over 3% or 2%, you could do it like that. But like mainly like what most of our customers do is just like a $50 or $100 deduction that they claw back for callbacks. What so Ron, I'm curious about $5 million. Like talk to me about, are you going to expand? Do you go into other services? Do you go into electrical? Do you go into larger surface area or radius? Like what's your plan?
We have such a big territory down here, and I was a part-time business owner down here for a while now until I moved down 100% last year. We were on a 65% growth rate last year, and right now we're on a 69% growth rate. So this company, I want to see at least $15 million out of it in the next 5 years. That's the plan. And I don't believe I could have done it without some sort of incentive-based pay. And private equity is kind of doing that now in some of their places, and we're just trying to keep up, but deliver a better service. And we can do that here.
That's amazing. Sorry, quick follow-up question. So, and just so people know, do you do mainly residential? Like, talk to us, I guess, about the scope. Is it commercial as well?
A little bit of light commercial, service and repair. We do not do anything big like that. We do absolutely no construction of any sort. So we are pretty much 85% residential, 15% commercial.
Gotcha. Have someone right here in the chat, strictly HVAC, smaller company, 8 technicians, 2 comfort advisors. Are you doing straight performance or combination of, yeah, that's a good question, Ron. Are you doing straight performance, pure performance, or hourly plus?
So with the state of Maryland, the best way to do that is if the guy works X amount of hours and he was supposed to get $25 an hour, he works 40 hours, $1,000 a week. We pay him that hourly, and then if his bonus was $3,000, he gets a commission of the $2,000 of the difference. So this way, we're in compliance with our states.
Yeah, and we see that a lot. We see that as a way to do this. Like you kind of message it, you think about it as, performance pay. That's what you're striving for. But there is this hourly, and then it's like, you get the top up, right? And that way you're like, hey, no, there is an hourly there as well, which there really is an hourly. But yeah, that's what we see, especially in California, where there's like crazy labor laws and stuff like that.
Ron, did you get any pushback when you first tried to roll this out? Like when you just talked to the guys about it? What did they have any, reservations about it?
We had 2 of the plumbers that were definitely very nervous.
Yeah.
I think for us, we've built a culture here now that we communicate, we over communicate. That's been one of my goals, is to make sure everybody understands. And then we beta tested it. I wanted it rolled out a little bit sooner, but we didn't. And we talked about it, and we had meetings every single solitary week to go over what we were doing. We had Danielle from Ryan's office in front of the guys, educating and explaining to them. And we absolutely have no one complains about it. Nobody is giving us pushback. And like I said, the HVAC guys who aren't on it yet are like, when are we getting ours?
So the plumbers are sharing their success or talking about how they're doing with the HVAC guys, and
absolutely
the HVAC guys want to get that.
Yep, we are very open here, and everybody knows everything. So we communicate that, so they get jazzed up for it now that they know, and they talk about it every week.
Do you feel, and like, I'm truly not trying to tee you up, but like, do you feel like this is like made the culture, you know, like kind of more like come together? You know, I feel like before it's a little like, hey, let me get a raise, right? And it's them versus you. And I don't know, the way you're talking about it almost sounds like you guys are like really like one team now, and you're kind of all like striving for this. Like, have you noticed just like a more macro like culture shift?
I would say I built a good culture the last 6 months.
Mhm.
And I think because I built that good culture, it's allowed me to keep everybody on board.
Mhm.
I think if you had a little bit of a culture issue, you'd probably lose a couple people.
Yep.
Do I think it's made our culture better? I can certainly tell you it's made our guys happier. I can tell you that they have plans now that they can say, hey, I can make this much, or hey, I'm going to do $750,000 out of my truck because I want to make this for myself. You see more of that than we ever did before.
That's
What
awesome.
kind of increased percentages have they got as far as on their checks? Just, is it like where they were getting $25 an hour and now it's maybe effectively 60 or something like that? That's what I saw when I incorporated performance pay. I started it with my HVAC installers, and his hourly rate effectively doubled, and we got jobs done quicker, and it was more profitable for us.
Our plumbers are seeing anywhere from about a $55 to $60 hourly rate.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
man. That's about what we're seeing. Our installers should be seeing that same thing.
Yeah.
Once we unveil it and roll it out to them.
I was going to show you, like, can you guys see my screen?
Let's see. I cannot. Let me add it there.
I think I'm screen.
How about now?
I think it.
I think we're good now. Yep.
Yeah. So one of the things, speaking of that, I'm not going into a demo, don't. But speaking of that, we wanted to surface the effective hourly rate, just like Ron was saying. It's like, all right, you might have a base, but when you factor in incentives and then you divide all that money divided by your total hours worked, your effective hourly rate, it's like you want to show them, because a lot of times they'll anchor, they kind of know what other people are paying in town, but we want to make sure to show the effective hourly rate to the guys, week to week, right? Because it'll vary. And I think like they can, and then they think of themselves as that. They're not going to be making effectively 47, but base 30 and then leave you for a 35, right? It's like you're making 47 here. And that's one thing we really try to talk to them about. Ron, we had a question for you in the chat. So you have a setup where you pay performance on the labor they sell and not revenue. I'm not really sure what that means.
Yeah, no. So our performance is based off the revenue that they bring in. So we have a sold revenue, and they get 9% of that, and then they have a completed revenue, and they get 9% of that, which equals 18%. That keeps them wanting to do their own work and not pass it off. So not just, I sold 20,000 this week, I get 18% of that. No, I sold and completed. And also is making sure that they're going to try to get it done this week, if at all possible, so that it doesn't carry over to the following week, which, if everybody understands, that's the most efficient way to do it, right? Get it done today, get it done as soon as possible, no buyer's remorse for the customer, and it's the most efficient way, less windshield time.
They probably do better with their truck stock too, making sure their tools are there and all that.
Yeah, that's definitely a byproduct. They're coming in the mornings and making sure that they restock everything on every job now, because they want to make sure that they're as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
Think about that.
So Mike Mack in 5 trucks plumbing, is this based on revenue they bring in or gross margin? I would just say, like, you can structure it like with ShareWillow. We see mostly from our opinion, you want the techs to be in as much control. Like, they can't control the margins sometimes. So that's why, you kind of back into a percentage of the gross, which is, 9% on sold by, 9% on completed by. But someone just asked, is it on revenue or margin? I mean, either way, you either do a smaller percentage on revenue or a larger percentage on margin, but most of the time it's on revenue because that's in their control for the most part.
Correct.
Cool. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is talk to us about the customer. So let me just have a controversial topic. You know, I've seen people comment on our ads and they're like, oh, performance pay is just getting every technician's a salesman and they're going to sell the customer things they don't need, right? That's like a huge misconception, I think, about this. What do you think about that? How have your customers been feeling towards you guys post sort of rolling this out?
First and foremost, if anybody says that's going to make your plumbers or HVAC sales guys, I'm going to say that's exactly what they are. That is exact. Get rid of the short, narrow thinking that they're technicians or plumbers. They are salespeople. They're selling something to a homeowner that the homeowner needs. If they do something unethical and it comes back to us, they're not going to be around in our company very long. That's not who we are. We have core values. We stand behind those core values. Are there customers that are complaining? No. Are there customers that are going to complain at some point? Sure. But they're probably the same ones that are complaining about a service fee. They're complaining about a level 1. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to matter what you charge them. If you just go out and say you need this and this is how much it's going to be, you're not building a value. You're not going to sell very much anyway. In order to sell those big tickets, you have to spend time with the customer. We spend an hour to an hour and 20 minutes with each customer. Do we get every single one? No. But we have good close ratios with the high average tickets, and we have a lot of satisfied customers.
I love that. I have a couple questions about that. I saw something, actually, Bill, I saw it in your group. Someone was talking about how, you know, when you, so turnovers, right, for HVAC, or when you go for a repair and you're able to like flip it or turn it over into a replacement. And Bill actually had this really cool chart about the age of the system and the cost of the repair. And it's like, hey, if it's over, you know, call it 5 years and $3,000, it's like, you might as well just do a replacement. Are you like using sort of things like that to educate the customers and also your guys on like, hey, like this is how we think about when we should recommend a replacement versus a repair? Like, talk to us about like maybe some of those tactics, because I also think like if your techs are in the home and, you know, they're spending time, they're trusted then, right? And especially if they're now communicating with the customer and walking them through their thought process on how they think about it. Yeah, like talk to us, I guess, a little bit about that.
Yeah, we call them TGLs, tech generated leads. And we, you know, as an HVAC company, you live and die by those, but also as a plumbing company as well with water heaters. Mm-hmm. We're on the coast. So you're pushing 8 to 10 years for an HVAC system that's sitting out there in the salt. But there's a lot of companies that are out there saying, oh, they can fix it, they can fix it, they can fix it. Where we come in and say, sure, we can fix it. Here's what it's going to be. Here's our recommendations of why not to fix it. Show them that, hey, $3,000, $4,000 is way too much money to spend on a system. Educate them on what it's going to cost if you try to keep this thing running for the next couple of years between efficiency and breakdowns, and let them know that it's in their best interest. I was a tech back in the 80s and 90s, and we fixed everything. And I hated when I fixed something old and 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now, it came back in and it made me look bad because I tried to fix something old.
Yeah. Customers will get upset with you for that too. They will. You think you're doing them a favor, and they actually would have replaced it if you would have given that option, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I am that customer. I'm in this office. We're subleasing it for like a year. The boiler broke, and they're like, oh, it's the subleasee's responsibility. And I'm like, oh. The guy came in and he's like, Superman. He's like, no, I can fix it. It's this old system. I end up spending $10,000. And he's like jerry rigging everything together. I'm like, bro, and he's like proud of it. And I'm like, cool, like I love it. That's awesome. But it still doesn't really work. It like, I'm scared it's gonna blow up, and I spent $10,000. So I totally get it. It's like, or I don't know if you've experienced this, but I experienced it as a customer. It's like I felt like I just kept getting, oh, you're gonna need this. And I'm like, cool, $1,000. They're like, they get it. They start, you actually need this too. And I was like, I'm getting strung along. It's like always an extra $1,000 or $2,000. Yeah. And I just feel like that's not a good experience from a customer when I was the customer. Yeah.
And after all that, you have to replace it anyway, right?
Well, now I'm just like, I'll just wait for it to get warm.
Yeah, you're not. And let's face it, if they come in and spend 5 minutes with you and tell you need to replace it, you're never going to replace it. They didn't build any value, right? Yeah. But if they sit there and educate the customer, you'll be surprised at how well they accept that and realize that it's not time. It's time to do the replacement.
Yeah. Talk to us. This is like a little out of scope of the performance pay stuff, but not really. So talk to us about like your lead gen and, like your funnels and stuff like that. Cause I'm curious about that, because also some people are using incentives with CSRs. So, are you doing anything there? And then, yeah, just talk to us sort of about your funnel for acquiring new customers.
Give me more details.
Like, how do you get customers?
Oof.
Are you doing Facebook? Are you doing content? We have this one customer, Good Guy Plumbing. I see his ad. He's like, I see his ads all the time. Like, are you doing content? Are you doing home advisor? Are you partnering with realtors? Yeah. Like, how are you getting customers?
I mean, at our size, we try to do, we have enough budget in there to try to hit as much as possible. We have since really focused on locations closest to the shop. I've got 7 private equity companies that are in my area down at the beach now. All the big players are here, so I can't compete dollar-wise. So we watch our money, we spend it wisely, we focus on neighborhoods, we focus on local areas that we want to own as a business. So we go out, we hammer away with that with, postcards, direct mail pieces, and things like that, flyers, everything that we can. We're also in the community, pretty hot and heavy with, billboards and things like that. Home shows are big down here. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it really comes down to funneling it into our office, making sure that we connect with each and every customer, making sure our call taking staff takes good care of the customer, finding out how old their equipment is, making sure that we get the right guys out there, that if it is a tech opportunity or tech generated lead opportunity, we get the right guys out there that can educate the customer that needs to be replaced.
That's awesome. And I want to harp on that just in case. I know you've said it a couple times, just so everyone here thinks about it. But TGLs, tech generated leads, like you're in the home, you're trusted, you're the expert, and you're able to, maybe you went there for one thing, but you see other issues, right? So it's like, hey, if you see something, say something, right? And kind of like recommend that. I think that's such an overlooked way to just generate more business, especially someone like you who can cross-sell from plumbing to HVAC. Right. And looks like some people here in the chat are, looks like JD, by the way, service, install, new construction for both HVAC and plumbing. Right. So you kind of can have pipelines feeding you. But yeah, the tech generate. Talk to us. Like, what does that volume look like? Like, if you go to 10 houses, like how many tech generated leads will you generate from those 10?
So we're looking to get out of new customers 2 tech generated leads out of every 20, 1 out of 10. And that sways up and down depending upon, what kind of customer base you get in. Mm-hmm. The other thing we try to do is we cross-train our plumbers to look for HVAC problems, not to be fixers of HVAC, but to look for that system that's super old. They're smart enough to see that the fins are rusted out and there's nothing left to it. That's when they're going to do their cross-sale and get the HVAC guy out there. Same thing with the HVAC guys, getting the plumbers out for leaks in the crawl space or, water treatment because things are stained or an old water heater. Mm-hmm. That, if anybody on this call takes anything other than ShareWillow, which is tops, is do it from inside, right? Train your people to look out for the other guys and to help them out as well.
Do you have any incentives for those when a plumber refers an HVAC guy in-house?
Yes, like we do have a spiff program, and if they generate something, they get a percentage off of that sale. And we are actually in the process of doing something else called, it's a referral program that's coming out now as well. I think you and I talked about it yesterday, Trade Engage, just to try to help each other, help grow each business. We keep them as separate entities, obviously with 2 different franchises. Mm-hmm. So we kind of play it as 2 different companies, even though we're all housed under the same roof. Help each other out. Help your plumber out. Help the HVAC guy out.
Ryan, I have a question for you. Have you seen where companies have implemented performance pay for CSRs? That was something I was never able to do. I wasn't sure even how to structure it, let alone track it. So have you seen that?
We get it a lot. So what usually happens with us is someone comes to us and they're like, we're good on sales. It's like my service. It's like one department, right? That they're like, I'm only going to do maybe my installers, right? I want to something's, maybe they're taking a little bit too long, something like that. And then what we find is they start sort of adding things and adding things and adding departments. So we have a customer, Clogbusters, that they're doing like 10 million in top. Look, they're like crushing it right now. And they're using all the best tools, right? They're using ServiceTitan, they're using Chirp, they're Lace, like all this stuff. And yeah, so they're creating incentives for their CSRs right now. I was actually about to just pull it up for a second. So CSRs, this is like high level, earns a percentage of total revenue booked plus incentives for reviews. Dispatcher earns a percentage of revenue completed plus incentives tied to review scores and complaints. Dispatcher responsible for revenue completed, on-time performance, job completion rate. So some of these people also, it's like, did you dispatch to the right person or the best person, right? So for instance, you might have in ServiceTitan, by the way, you might have in ServiceTitan tagged the age of system by customer, kind of like in your CRM, right? So it's like, if this person is like, it's a repair and it's a 12-year-old system, like that's hot, right? That's probably a replacement and nice neighbor, whatever. So it's like, did you send that to the right person or did they get priority? So anyway, it's kind of, you can do it on those things is what we've seen. And if it's more call center stuff, like the actual like appointments booked, like we'll integrate with like a Chirp is I think what we're doing with them, or like the call center software. But yeah, we definitely see CSRs get added. It's funny, they usually almost always get added later. And they're like, oh, I want to add it for the CSR. It's like this like afterthought. They're like, oh, it's kind of working over here. But we do see that a lot. People want to pilot it, right? I'm talking to a big company right now, and it's like they're not going to roll it out to everyone. Similar to what Ron did. It's like, that's the thing that I'm trying to figure out as ShareWillow. I'm like, how do we get customers to just trust us and just like go live? And there's things we need to do, right? We need to maybe show them the data and show, pay simulators and just do like better stuff. But like, yeah, it's like it's not something that you just can, like if it's all these other tools, right? You can kind of like some guy in the business can kind of try it over here and hack AI and it's not going to mess up everything. But to roll out a new comp and incentives for everyone, it's like kind of a big deal. So yeah. So anyway, we see it piloted, but yeah, CSRs, we definitely see CSR plans.
Interesting.
And members, like member advisors or comfort advisors, we see that. Actually, I saw someone in the chat just talking about comfort advisor. Oh, Amanda. Comfort advisors there. So Ron, so talk to us about like, you weren't doing it. You had been toying with it. I actually talked to another company and they were like, I've been trying to figure this out for so long and you guys finally did it. But like what got you over the hurdle? Like, and what also prioritized it that made you actually like take a deeper look at it?
I've probably spent $4,000 or $5,000 on other systems trying to make it work. And every time I got to the bottom of it, it was just too complicated. Then I saw you guys and jumped on board, had a good conversation, good onboarding. And then I did a typical business owner and I tried to detail it around exactly what I thought I wanted it to be. And then about a month in, I said to Danielle, and I said, I'm tailoring this to be like our performance and incentive pay that we have now with spiffs and stuff like that. I'm like, stop. We need to simplify it. We need to get back to simple things. And once I did that, it was just easy to implement. Once I made it easy to implement, it was easy for the plumbers to understand. And maybe it's just my company, but when the guys can understand it easily and they can see what they can make, it just incentivizes them, jazzes them up, gets them ready to go.
That's awesome. But just digging in a little bit more, like, so it sounds like you knew you needed to do this. What was the pain, I guess, like, what was the pain where you're like, I need to do this? Because some people it's like, maybe the pain's not there, or maybe the pain is really there and they don't know that it's there. But what was the pain where you're like, I have to do something, and it made you not give up too, right? Like you were, kind of going back and forth.
My biggest mover was the hourly pay. I was just tired of hearing people come and say they needed the dollar raise, or new employees would come in and say, I'm worth this. Well, how do you know?
Mhm.
And they all say they're worth more than what they really are. And until you get them in there, you're paying them extra money to go out, and maybe they're good, maybe they're not. At least now we can say, here's your base. If you're good and you say you can do what you say you can do, you can go out and make as much as you want. And you'll never ask me again for $1 for an hourly wage.
Mm-hmm.
No more raises. That was the pain that I was like, I'm tired of it. I need to change it. And it's been bugging the crap out of me.
Yeah. I like that. We hear that all the time. This one guy was basically like, someone came to me, asked me for a raise, and he's like, yeah, awesome. Let's get you that raise. What are you going to do? You're going to sell, how are we going to get there? And I thought that was cool. Well, that's awesome. What, Bill, what else do you have for us? So I know you're moderating the group and ServiceTitan Hacks, 10,000 plus members. Congrats, by the way. That's really cool. Thank you. By the way, if in the chat, if you guys can all put, I'm assuming everyone here is on ServiceTitan, right? Obviously. Is that a fair assumption? Bill, you think? It is.
I would think so. Probably most of them.
Can you guys put the software that you're using into the chat right now just to confirm? Because I feel like we work the best with ServiceTitan. ServiceTitan, you get every single API, every single report, you get everything with ServiceTitan. For us, it's crazy. There's all these other platforms, and it's like we just can't get like the right piece of data. Like they don't expose it in their API or whatever it is. So cool, yeah. And one of the things that we did recently, and you create the incentives, like Ron was saying. You create the incentive that'll be completed by or sold by or memberships. And then you map that data to what we call data sets. Data sets will feed into these metrics. And that's what you create the incentives on. And we completely have them linked. And we do a lot of logic because sometimes it's not the cleanest coming in from ServiceTitan. And you might even need formulas for completed by revenue. It might be, the technician assigned to it has to be the performed by technician and job completed and invoice equals 0, right? There might be like rules behind it. And that's where I feel like ShareWillow figured it out in the last like 6 months, to be honest, because, we really figured out how to map everything correctly, how to get the data flowing in. And with ServiceTitan, it's like our best channel, best partners. And we're seeing like really good growth. We're seeing like some big companies too. Some of these PE guys are using us with their portfolio companies. And by the way, and also to you, Ron, too, and anyone here, like we're talking to so many companies. If you're at 5 million, you're like, hey, I want to get to 10 million. I want to talk to a 10 million guy. I want to talk to a 10 million guy that grew this. Like, I'm also happy to make intros and just like connect people. And I just want to learn too, from everyone and try to like just knowledge transfer. So I think that's cool. But yeah, everyone in the chat's on ServiceTitan, and Chirp. Yep. Cool.
Nice.
Fantastic. So
I know we're coming up on time. We did have an offer. I put in the chat, but I don't know if you can click links in the chat. So I don't know if you're able to share it, but I created a special page with an offer, 50% off of our setup fee, which we call plan design fee, for all webinar attendees, which I think is pretty good because it's very like white glove labor intensive on our part. Oh yeah, right there.
Still don't know if you can click it, but that's the link.
You can click it. sthacks.sharewillow.com, ServiceTitanHacks.sharewillow.com.
I will send it in the replay email. Okay.
Yeah. And then look, I want to firstly thank Ron. Thank you so much for coming on. I know this is like tons of your time and I appreciate it. I'm really grateful. And honestly, I probably should have called you way sooner because just hearing some of those things is one, helpful. It also is like good to hear. But I also think there's some learnings that, we can do. If they are sharing, how can we make it so they can maybe interact with each other on the app and better leaderboards? I just think like I'm always trying to make the product just better and more engaging. And I want to own all of Technician Pay, hopefully soon, where they not only can see the pay, but they can get the pay. So I'm like super thankful. And by the way, like for you and anyway, maybe even I actually saw some of our current customers were on the registration list. So I don't know if they're here too, but send feedback too, because we're moving fast now. And we can build really good product. But at the end of the day, we want the techs like we feel like if the tech's behavior changes, everyone wins. Your customers win, you're going to win. If they're engaged and they're doing things like, hey, I can make more money, not by running up the clock and logging more hours and flipping into overtime, but I can make more money by completing the job faster and getting a review and selling a membership and flipping it's like, that's super aligned with the business. So we're trying to just like win the techs right now, win them, show them they show them a path to make more money. And deliver a better customer experience as well. So anyway, like, yeah, thank you guys so much. Like we're building, we're listening to customers. I'm trying to just be in the trenches with everyone. We do sites. Danielle actually went to a customer in Rhode Island yesterday. We're trying to just be with customers all the time and just learn. And, if we're not doing the best, like we'll just fix it and, build better products. So yeah, I just want to say thank you though.
Hey, can I add on something real quick, Bill? I will say for everybody out there dealing with ShareWillow, Ryan, you guys have been super fabulous with tailor fitting it to my business. And I don't know that anybody else is going to do something like that. Danielle and I worked very closely to make sure that it worked for the company. And you guys made some changes on your side, which was phenomenal. So I appreciate that. And thank you for that.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, she's that's all her. She's an absolute rock star. And yeah, that's no surprise there, as you can imagine. But yeah, she's a stud. So awesome. Great to hear.
Awesome.
Cool.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Ryan or Ron or myself? Anything?
Cool. We're gonna send an email. Bill will send the email out. Recap.
Yep.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for your time today. Ron, thank you. Ryan, thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Yep.
Take
Have
care.
a good one. See ya. Bye.